working with the distribution destinations. Wait. Yeah, so it's working on Facebook Live. That's good. So one viewer now, joke. And today, talking about Elon Musk, Twitter, and freedom of speech. So Elon Musk announced here some hours ago, or during the day on Thursday, March 14th, that he had a so-called hostile takeover or bid on buying a whole Twitter. He has a stake of, is it almost 10%? And then he got offered to be on the board, but if he would accept that, he would not be able to have a certain amount of a stake in the company or buying shares. And now, see here what's going on. Yeah, it's still working. So he's now, and then he had been quiet for like 4 days on Twitter. He has been a pretty, how should you say, active Twitter user and writing tweets in different ways with memes and things like that. And I'll come back about how to behave on Twitter. So now he's giving a bid on a certain amount. I think it's around $50 per stock, and it's like, is it 400 miljarder in Swedish billions, like $40 billion? Is that right, or is it 400 billion? Yeah, it's a huge number. And then we have seen different discussion about that, if it's okay, so to speak, by a guy like Elon Musk to buy Twitter, or what the board should do, and also what's led up to this thing. I've heard about that Elon Musk, and it's hard to pinpoint him, so I'm jumping back and forth. I saw a guy called Tim Miller on the Bulwark. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's a kind of Republican, so-called moderate Republicans channel, and a newsletter, cheers, and site, and they've been very critical to Donald Trump. And they have a channel on, I think it's Snapchat, or if it's some other places also, YouTube, called Not My Party. And there we now 7 viewers. Now we talked about that maybe that could be a ticket in the future, like a centrist, so-called, like Elon Musk, that you can't pinpoint, and together with Trump. And then they talked about the whole thing, maybe, with Elon Musk is brilliant entrepreneur with like Tesla and SpaceX and other things like that. And you have seen what they've done now during the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, to sending out these satellite dishes. So you could do like something like that. And on the other hand, they have been acting in maybe not so nice way sometimes on Twitter, and bullying, maybe, almost, you could say that, and lashing out against people. So, but it was so-called a parody site, or satire site, or a certain kind of humor called something. I call it Babylon, or Babylon, but it's something with B. It's a, and as you know, I'm not a religious person, but it's like a Christian conservative. Maybe it's a right right version, right wing version, or what you should classify it as, the Onion, but and then it was, I think it was banned by Twitter. And then he got upset, Elon Musk. So maybe that was the thing that triggered him to start tweeting about that Twitter was dying. And then also he wanted to give proactive decisions how to improve Twitter. And that I agree with him. As a fan, if I had to pick one social media platform, and that's a constructive version because we have lots of alternatives out there. But if you have, I'd pick one, I would say Twitter still, even if I don't agree with the management of Twitter always, and what's going on with deplatforming, other things like that, and also the algorithm, you could say. But still, I like the style. I like the transparency. It's opened. You have to be short and sweet. Now on this live session, I could babble along, but on Twitter you have to write this. At the beginning, it was 140 characters. I think now it's 280. Still, you have to be short, and then you could link to something, and you could do hashtags and so on. And the way that you also could tag somebody, like Elon Musk on Twitter. But he had some good suggestions, like the edit button, because sometimes if you do a typo mistake, then often when you want maybe to redo it, then you have to copy and paste it and delete your tweet and start. And now we want to do that because then you could something, but that could be a risk also. Some people say that you could do a tweet and then edit it and change the meaning or change the content into it. But yeah, you could probably set up some that you see a version number or timestamp or something like that. Like edited, you see that on other, like on LinkedIn, on Facebook, you see, I think you see, or Instagram, you see if it's edit. So, and then another thing that I think, like if you pay for this Twitter Blue, that I'm thinking of doing in the future, if I get the funds for it and I see the value of it and return on investment. I don't know how much it is per month, but you could inform me about that. Is it $5 or $10 or what is? So now it's like 15 viewers here. And you can see here, we interview notification. Okay. So to have that, I think if you get this Twitter Blue, why not get this check mark? And that was a suggestion by that you're like a legit user. That was a suggestion by Elon Musk. I would also propose to, as have around 5,000 users, and it's not the numbers per se, but I see the potential of distribute and also to get connections and new conversations and so on, starting new relationships, and also like a search engine, you could say. So I follow more than 5,000, but it's like 4,000, is it 900, something like that, follow me back. So in order to follow more, I have to delete users, and I will do that anyway, like spring cleaning. But it takes time because Twitter have changed, so you can't do it automatically or doing in batching. You have to manually, and that will take, depending on, yeah, if I have to say 500, it will take me 500 days if I do one per day. So a long time, but of course you can maybe do 10 or 50 or maybe even 100 per day, and then it's been pretty quick in order to follow new ones. So the formula is now, I think nowadays, it's when you reach, like before it was 2,000. So if you have follow 2,000, in order to follow somebody, a new tweet, 2,000, like 200 or something like 10%, I think it was, has to follow you or more, so 2,200. and they have that Twitter follow limit rule in order to that you not robots or user who want to collect names, you could say, and users and then follow them, and then they get follow back and then they unfollow them. That's probably the reason. But if you have good intentions and want to follow more tweets and so on, why shouldn't you be able to do that? So that's something more that they could improve on. But you have seen lots of debate now that people are afraid what Elon Musk will do about it, if they will accept this bid, and if it will. So we'll see how it plays around. What I did with on my note card that I had already planned this, and now this news happened, but a week ago. So when I wrote hashtag freedom of expression, Elon Musk and Twitter, already now you could have, and I wrote float with FLOAT, but it's FLOTE. That's an alternative float app, and it's similar to Twitter in the style. So there it's an alternative, and they have some kind of, I think, some cryptocurrency involved that also. Another, of course, is Parler or Parler, PARLER. And then you have, of course, Trump's own Truth Social, and I can't use it. I'm not sure that I will use it because it's not outside North America, what I know about. And it's long waiting list also, and it have been pretty buggy. But recently, Donald Trump's son, he created something called MXM News, like minute per minute news, and they're saying to that have news sources and not fake news, as they call it. But they have traditional news services also. But that seems to be a pretty valid app to use if you're like you want to dig into the news, the feed there. And then I have some plan to this Tuesday Tech in a weekend about some tools, but that I will come back to in future. I will still struggling with this. How often should I do this live streaming? I said on Tuesday Tech, Free Things Tech, on Thursday. That still is Thursday in American time, and then on Saturday siesta. I will try to do that. But again, I also thinking about how apps here, how it's working with the search thing, how to do the location, how to find new followers. Like here on Twitter, Adam Tinkoff. So hello, Adam, and thanks again for your support, buying me a coffee, and buy me a coffee / Lyceum, or buy me a tea. Now I'll see if it's somebody's saying something, but it's like here, hey there, Martin. Cheers. Talking about the devil. It's like white, very thin on the screen, so it's hard for me to read. But now I see you, Adam. I wonder if I could, like, you remember? No, unfollow Adam. I don't want to do that. But if I could add you to the stream, if you want. You remember we did that in the past. Did like a panel, but I don't see that now. Not right now. Okay. So for example, now I'm jumping back and forth here. How is HAPS doing, and how are the development? I have updated my profile, doing it short and sweet, adding my link to bio.link/Lyceum, where you have different ways of following me and also how you could support my work. There they had HAPS, they have a thing, add like a video, you could say trailer, in order to get interested in your account. But I wonder how will you do that in order to find new users on apps? I'm not sure about that. And also to be a bit, how to say, shares constructive feedback. I don't see much of activity by apps themselves now on Twitter, so on. And they had in the past, they have very nice, like from the headquarters, they had live streaming themselves and also going through different features of apps and so on. And I don't see that anymore. Now it's more that they answering on support questions and doing that, and that's of course important work also. So send a heart to Lyceum. Thank you very much. Thanks for that, Adam. So we'll see how it's going, and then also you have another thing here going, the destination distribution. That's why I like apps in a way, but I like the so-called community, or that it was a, I would say, within the creators themselves you could have an interesting thing. So that's why I want to be on apps. But now I wonder if it's more like distributing things, and there you have other things like Restream or all other services that you could use. So it'd be interesting to see how apps is developing and see what they are thinking about. But now I've added it, I could see myself now on Facebook Live at having these headphones, and in order to listen. Now I'm shut down the volume, and then hopefully it's also streaming on Twitter. If you see that, Adam, you're welcome to say that. I will check that out at the same time here. Nice headphones, thanks. Yeah, it's like Bluetooth headphones, more like over phones. So I often listen to them, listen to it like audiobooks and so on. So, but I have it more like for indoors use, and you could probably have it like if you're on train or airplane and so on. So you have could listen to the content there. So that I have it, put it on. You could say what it's called, Bluetooth, and checking, and then have Bluetooth on my iPad, and here it's saying live where it is on Twitter. There you have Meta, so it's live, and it's one on and one on Twitter, and also one retweet. I did a thing there, the challenge. How it's going with that challenge, Adam? Tweet 100. So it's retweeted this one, and there you have also when should you do the streaming, when is a good time to do that. Here at Adam here in California, it's around 6 p.m. and I woke up here, so that's why I did this streaming 3 a.m. Central European time, because I wanted to talk about this news happening with Twitter and Elon Musk's actions here, and also freedom of speech and alternative out there. So that's my plan, and also to try to stick to this Tuesday tech, three things tech, and then force hammers Thursday, ventilate things, and then Saturday siesta. So that's the plan, and also between the days to create my own content there on my hubs, on my digital town halls on Monday, Wednesday, and on Friday. Cheers. So I wanted to have this. That's one thing I can't see. I see now 24 viewers, so thanks for viewing. And thanks again, Adam, for giving hearts and chiming in here. But you don't see the time, so I have to see here on the iPad what's the time. So I babbled for about 20 minutes. So that's one thing that also when we do this in this horizontal mode. So coming back to Elon Musk, so this Tim Miller of Bulwark, the magazine or the newsletter and the service that they have, I think they have podcast also. Tim Miller there, he said about the whole thing with Elon Musk, and that's probably what have triggered some people to lash out against Elon Musk. And he knows how to push the buttons and also attention marketing. So he's doing all these things in order to, it could be, for example, with the stock price, he buys shares, and one thing he's saying, buying shares in the stock in Twitter, and then he's saying, next tweet is saying, is Twitter dying? And he has a case where like these big celebrities, some of them that have lots of followers, haven't tweeted for a half year or whatnot. But again, there, same thing as with apps. I like Twitter because you could find tweeps, fellow tweeps, content creators, and individuals interesting in certain things by searching hashtags, being active in these Twitter chats, and see the trends and whatnot. So that's why I like Twitter. But the whole thing with Musk, of course, is he's playing. Somebody said he's playing 3D chess, seeing what's sticking and how people are reacting. Can you go live directly on Twitter? Yeah, when I'm doing apps, it's linked, Adam. It's destination, so it's going live on Twitter. But I wonder what is it's using. If it's still Periscope, or it's not there anymore. But I've seen that it says Periscope. But you should be able to use Twitter and go live also directly. So that's probably a thing you could do. I think they have it, Twitter Live. Yeah, we must have it. If they have this destination, they should have that service. But I don't know which like symbol. I will ask Lisa Sicard about that, how you do it, and if you could do it both on web-based and also on mobile, or if it's only mobile. Cheers. It's like that I also want to test Twitter Spaces, like an alternative to Clubhouse. Yes, but looks like crap. Okay, so that could be a thing. And what I liked with Twitter, talking about live, for example, as a New England Patriots fan, go Pats. I remember some years ago they send it live, of course. Otherwise, you have to have, and I'm for it to pay for it. But some you can't watch it because you're in different location. So Twitter had this live with NFL and the if it was Super Bowl, I don't know, but and they have had like a golf tournament, and they had other things like that. So you could watch like live events broadcast on Twitter. So I think they should do more of that. So yeah, we will see. I remember they had some news streaming or broadcast when it was some big things happening. They had that. So these kind of things Twitter could do, because they have, it is like a media, and that's why the critics have talked about, if Elon Musk will buy Twitter, he has a whole media, you could say, broadcast in his hand. But that's the same thing like Bezos. He bought like Washington Post for, was it $1 symbolic? And theoretically he could, put whatever he wants in the paper. So and then link it with ads and Amazon and whatnot. I don't know how it developed. I haven't followed it, and I don't subscribe to Washington Post, so I don't know. The whole old media or mainstream media, in order to buy this subscription model that I'm for in certain ways, like The Economist and so on, it's value. But also news service, when you find it in Google search, and then it's paywall, so it's hard to things. And that's what I like with Twitter also. You could find news quickly on Twitter. And then, for example, going live, as you said, Adam, and streaming. So that's something to look into account. But I see alternatives also in the future. We will see things like Parler, Float, maybe Truth Social also. I don't know about that. But it will be interesting. I saw was it on News On, I think is a TV channel where Amy Peacock of on Parler that's doing the how to say the terms of service and the privacy thing there. Where she was talking with a guy from California, I think, Irvine, called something called uh, Clout Hub or something like that. And I don't know what that is, but they talked about commenting on the latest things going on with with Twitter. And this guy, I think his name was Jeff of Clout Hub. He thought that Twitter should, disappear and they should do something new. And he said back in the day, Twitter was like similar to Facebook, talking with your friends and chatting and having, and that's what have happened with Twitter. Sometimes the atmosphere has been, it's of course depending who you are following and who is in your stream, but they have been hostile, not a nice atmosphere, pretty harsh, and so on. And I remember, I will still stick with Twitter, I think, but I remember lots back in the day. I started with Twitter 2007. There was lots of people in the social media space and new media and journalists and people interested in, as I said, social media and marketing and PR and communication and so on. They like Twitter. And for example, one of the conference that I went to uh, called Web Coast, there we had, in order before the event, it was like a non-conference or unconference, like a potluck conference. We had a Twitter list so we could see who will attend the conference. So that was nice. Yes, I have two black bars on each side. Okay, yeah, that's the thing. That's probably have to do with this one instead of that's how it looks. And I think if you see that on like is it no, not other services like that, you could see if it's using the phone because it's not filling up the screen. Twitter is great for moment info, just not a great archive. Yeah, that's true. And there you have this how to where to store this thing, and you could bookmark things, you could heart things, but not save it in certain archive. What I know about, so that it is a stream again. That's why I like the thing about building digital town halls where you could have a certain room and topics, and then you could go back to it. And it was interesting. You have lots of different hashtags now. Twitter, before it was Twitter Exodus, and now it's like Twitter Elon Musk or Elon Musk Twitter and Twitter takeover and things like that. And then on the trending topic I saw, but that's depending on where you're located. I'm using the phone vertically. Okay. So then but could you do that now on apps still? So that you could do it. But I did that before, Adam. Now I'm talking to Adam here. So if you're watching this in the replay, I'm talking here on apps live. So anyway, where were I? It was with the archive and something else. Now I lost my train of thought here. Yes, I'm on apps. Okay. So where were it was we were talking about archive and finding things, and it's a stream, and sometimes when it's we stream of consciousness, then it's going away after some time. So and it's hard to find and search. So that's a point to think about how to find material and go back to things and so on. And that's why I think this digital town hall, you could have different topics, different rooms, and you could have thread. And that way it's a neat thing. Yeah, it was different. But now I come back. On the trending topic is depending on where you're located. So you see that on the column there on Twitter. So that then it was and I almost forget what's the name of it. Mastodon. It's based in Germany. It's non-for-profit company. And there you could set up with your own, like similar to Facebook or Twitter or different platforms and hubs. And it's not centralized, it's decentralized. So you could set up your own server or log into servers and join servers. So now they have jumped on this thread and saying that they are an alternative. So I'm in the latest episode I had with my co-host Blair, the Secular Foxhole. We talked with author Warren Fay, Warren Fay. It's spelling his last name is Fahy, and he talked about a place or site called freeatlantis.com. That's on a Mastodon server. Then you log in and then you could follow threads, and it is in this how it appears, so it's no algorithm that way. So it's chronologically what's going on, and I like that. Again, then it's to have this active choice to log in and to remember your username and log in and so on, and do it on a regular basis. And then it was also the UX or user experience. It's this black and white or dark mood, and it has a feeling of like the 90s or old bulletin boards or something like that, and that could be cool in one way. It's similar to Discord. That's a neat service, but to get get into it, and I think for regular, and that could be both Facebook's, how to say, benefit, but also fault, that we are now used to that, like that wall that streams in that way. So, but I'm all for the different alternatives out there and to test it out and see what's going on. And bug on the phone. Okay, perhaps it's buggy on the. So I will see what's going on here also. What I like with apps, it was pretty easy nowadays to, when you have this login, you use your phone number for security reasons. It's pretty easy to start with the streaming. But then, of course, I only listened to the first to see that it was working on Facebook and the sound, but I don't monitoring the sound now. I only have my phone anyways on me because I put it down. Otherwise, it will be that it be bits. I could I could start on Twitter and see how it. And there it's you have a bit of a lag. So, but yeah, so I have to play around with it and see. But if it's easy to do a stream, I'm all for it. And you get some views, but that's also a thing that I will ask. I mean, it's free to use apps, but in the future, will we have some premium model or what you could see for the stats? What's that going? Where is the stats? Is that apps user and which are could I see who have watched or how could you interact with users in different ways? So we'll play around with it, and it probably, I mean, coming new things new happening there because still this snack bits and size snack size content will be there. Now of course I have been said babbling for some time, a half an hour, so it's depending on people will watch that for some time, but I think it could be newsworthy to watch this, my thoughts, my comments, commentary about freedom of expression hashtag Elon Musk and Twitter and different alternatives out there and seeing how this will play out with with Twitter in the near future. So I will again to wrap up. I will continue with the streaming here if it's working as it is doing now, but also to check the, as Adam is saying, with the quality, so it will be a good stream. But we'll see in the future what different ways you could do it. I will look into some other alternatives also for doing when you're doing recording and so on with podcasting and audio, but also how you could do it with video. So Tuesday Tech, three things, and then I will talk about next on Tuesday. I will talk about tool for social media marketing and scheduling, and also an audio app that I think I'm using more in the future, like reflection and thoughts, like a nice atmosphere, and then something called with the video commenting tool that is interesting. That could be a good complement to blog post, to podcast, and so on. And yeah, I will. Yeah, I could talk a little about. I had planned that for last time, and I will see more about that, and that people could be. That's why they are critical to Musk and his behavior. But I saw some news, and it was pretty interesting that on Snapchat you have different, like almost you could say broadcast or news service or channels like YouTube channels, but it's more again bit size, and where it was some service. I don't know if it was CNB or MSB, yeah, some of the regular news service, but it could be some other also that had a thing on Meta, Facebook versus TikTok. And I still haven't figured out TikTok. And yeah, that's one thing. This I was talking about destinations. So now it's going to if everything is working, Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, that I'm having only for fun because I'm not a gamer, but it's fun to see how it's working. And then Instagram, if it's stories or reels, it should be connected now. But if it's working, I don't know. And then again, it's on when I log in on my apps account on my laptop, it says now that the TikTok account is linked together. But on the phone, I don't see that option. So that's something that I wonder. And then again, I asked them about LinkedIn, but I haven't heard anything about any timeline or estimated time of arrival, or if I have a, how do you say, the blueprint or the of a roadmap for that. So it's depending on what kind of style they want to have in the future. But LinkedIn Live been pretty popular, and it started out. I don't know how big it is right now, but so then it was Facebook had they were afraid about TikTok has been almost big now in different ways with Facebook and growing like this. So as a lobbying group called Targeted Victory, that is like a conservative run by I thought it was one of the GOP candidates and one of the Republicans. I think that was the guy who sometimes shifted in his stand on different things, but I don't recall his name. But some of his workers were on the staff. He is linked to this Targeted Victory lobbying group, and they had spread things falsely about TikTok, like strange TikTok challenges, like slapping a teacher, doing these crazy stunts and dangerous things, and said it was dangerous for the kids to watch TikTok. Of course, not everything on TikTok is good stuff, and you should be buyers beware, and if you are a minor and younger person, you should talk to your parents and to adults and teachers and others what you're doing on TikTok. So, but it was some false claims, and then that turned into news. So it was spin doctors. That was false from the beginning, and then it's turned into news, and then it's reported by mainstream media, and then politicians took that and trying to regulate this. And that Meta or former Facebook is paying lots of money, donating or buying this campaign from this lobbying group. And that's scary. And yeah. So I think that's important news that Facebook should do work on its own and try to attract users in a good way, not to blaming competitors and false accusations and so on. That's not good. Again, you could have it could be a fine line also how you could present your competitors and talking about negative sides of social media. That could be fine, but not make up things. That's not happening on a platform. So that was something that I want to talk about. I'll probably come back to that. I don't trust the company that owns TikTok. Yeah, and I agree with that. I have issues with that because that's Chinese located, and they have like a search engine. And I went there. Of course, I couldn't read in the characters there, Chinese characters of Mandarin or what as well. But I tried to search for like Falun Gong, and I couldn't find anything, or if I find something, it was very negative about it. So I agree with that. So that's an issue with TikTok. So we'll come back to that topic, I think, in the future. Right now, I have an account, but I haven't done anything with it, and I'm mixed about it. But if apps will connect it somehow, and it will turn out into some kind of content on TikTok, maybe I'm for it. And I have had an idea, but I will talk about that probably on Saturday siesta, how I could use TikTok in a nice way with an interest specific beverage, and maybe also at the same time note taking, but I'm not sure. So thanks for that comment, Adam, and thanks for being here. And have a good evening. And we will talk soon again and do a collab about different things. So thanks again for your support on Buy Me a Coffee /Lyceum, and continue with the great work with your podcasts there, Podcast Starter Club, and not so, how it's called, Not So Strange podcast with one of your daughters. So cheers. So that's something for now. So again, to repeat, because that was something back in the day on apps, you could write a longer profile. So I put a tentative schedule there, but now it's so short text, not so weird. So Weird Al. So that's the name of it, not so weird. Thanks, Adam. So doing 3 times per week, if still continue to do it, to start broadcast the sessions. So in an easy way, again, we have to look at the content and the quality and the streaming, and also replay. But Tuesday Tech, 3 Things Tech. And before I said a time like 3 p.m. Central Time, so it's lots of T's, playing with Tuesday Tech, 3 Things Tech on Tuesday at 3 o'clock Central European Time. But now I'm more flexible depending on what time and what I'm doing. And then Tor, Thor in Swedish is Torsdag in Swedish. Hammer, ventilating something. It could be a commentary on an article in The Economist, or something like now. It's still Thursday in America. So about this news about Twitter and Elon Musk. So, and that I had planned to do often around 9 a.m. Central European Time. Now it's 3 a.m. on Friday. And then having a siesta, and that you know about, Adam, that expression in Spain and probably in Mexico also, right? So Saturday siesta, and it's around noonish time, or even later, like 2 in the afternoon, when you take a break because it's so hot and warm. So the shops are closing and you take a power nap. So that be something with like a beverage, like tea, talking about the weekend and things like that. So, si senor. Yeah, I have to brush up on my Spanish. So that's the thing. Tuesday Tech, towards Thursday and Saturday siesta. So with that, I will say cheerio and talk soon again. I see here 27 viewers, so that's great. And thanks again for a heart, Adam. And we'll see how I will develop that. If you could have different symbols in the future, and also with this trailer thing, and what more with the searchability and this community aspects of apps, and what's going on with others. So thanks again for watching and tuning in, and it will be interesting to see here, watching the replay, and see what kind of feedback, commentary, and how we could continue the conversation, adding your 2 cents to this and following what's going on with Twitter and so on. So take care, and yeah, talk to you on Saturday. Cheerio.